Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahabushai, Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in 2nd Esdras chapter 15 in the Apocrypha, verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and the definition for sedition is conduct or speech inciting open rebellion against a ruling authority or monarch, civil unrest, civil war, insurrection, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. And your modern day kings and princes are these people in the government, from the mayor to the governor, senators, president, prime ministers, as well as the authorities like the police or the military that uphold the system. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Like it said back in the book of Judges, and every man did what was right in his own eyes in those days. Hey, we're coming into the times of major civil unrest where these people are going to be going at each other. There's going to be class warfare, race warfare, and the average everyday person going against those in the governments because they finally see that their governments, and those politicians in them never had their best interests at heart and just kept taking and taking and taking. And you can only take so much or, poke the dog, so to speak, before that dog lashes out and bites you. And that's what I'll be dealing with in this video. Sedition among men and the people no longer regarding their kings nor princes. This is an article from TheGuardian.com titled, Better Be Scared, Threats of Political Violence, Sedition Among Men, Foretell Tense Election Year. And that could be another, flashpoint to kick off this civil unrest in the United States of America, because there will be a second civil war in the United States of America. A lot of people see this upcoming election as the final chance they have to move America into the direction they want it to go into, to save America. But newsflash, voting doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a Democratic candidate or a Republican candidate. They're just puppets for the elites pushing their agenda. But the majority of these people are still stuck in that left-right paradigm. So their emotions are heavily invested in this. And whatever the results are, that's even if, we have a presidential election this year, whatever the results are, whether we have an election or not, or whoever so-called is selected or not, people are going to, flash out. But regardless, things are going to turn violent on the streets of the United States of America. The fight for democracy. Several years of sustained harassment of election workers and judges have led to security concerns and a high turnover. The judge overseeing the election interference case against Donald Trump in Washington, D.C., had her home visited by police after a fake emergency call, and attempts were made to do the same to the prosecutor, Jack Smith. The Maine Secretary of State was swatted, too, after she ruled that the former president could not appear on the ballot there because of the 14th Amendment. The Colorado judges who ruled similarly have faced threats, leading to increased security. And that's another thing. You've got some of these officials in different states moving to take Donald Trump off the ballot, and you've already got a lot of these MAGA Edomites, the biblical Edomites being known as you so-called white people, on edge ever since 2020, believing that Trump had the C-election stolen from him. There was also a round of bomb threats to state capitals, sent to secretaries of state and legislative offices that were believed to be a hoax but led to evacuations around the country this month. Those hoaxes came after letters containing fentanyl were sent to elections offices in a handful of states in November. A recent wave of threats against elections officials and judges foretells a tense presidential election year that's likely to see ongoing threats of political violence that could turn physical as the future of U.S. democracy hangs in the balance. And however we get there, election interference, people not having their so-called candidate elected, inflation steadily increasing, becoming hyperinflation, superinflation, just continuing economic woes and people living paycheck to paycheck, working multiple jobs and one day away from being evicted or losing their jobs. Hey, these people are on edge out here. The U.S. is a tinderbox, and that fuse has been lit, and it's only a matter of time before it explodes, and threats of physical violence and political violence, turn physical. Let me repeat that. And it's only a matter of time before threats of political violence turn into actions, physical acts of political violence. Let's go back to that 2 Esdras chapter 16. I'm going to start at verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Destruction to the world and them that dwell therein. We're living in the times of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, and Yahawashi being the name of his Son, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, beginning to visit this world and punish you people for all the wickedness you've been committing, especially in the United States of America, the bedrock of wickedness, the times of Jacob's trouble, as it says in Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7, a time like no other on the face of the earth, worse than any horrible, historical event you can think of. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. And that one people standing up and fighting against another goes into a multitude of things. One race of people standing up and fighting against another. As it says in Matthew chapter 24, nations rising against nation. One political group standing up and fighting against another. Sedition amongst men, left versus right, red versus blue. Class warfare with the rich versus the poor, etc., etc., and swords in their hands. And the modern day sword, especially in the United States of America, is the gun. And these Americans are going to get to it. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. And this isn't talking about the ancient Egyptians, Mizraim, who were Hamites or so-called Africans. This is talking about the modern day spiritual Egypt that's pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8, the United States of America, which is also known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, these American Edomites from all different walks of life against each other. And hey, you other heathens, as well as you Israelites, or you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans living in America, wanting to be honorary Egyptians, you're all going to get caught up in this free-for-all. Everybody's going to be going against each other. And they shall fight, everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. One people shall stand up and fight against each other with swords in their hands. And at the top of a lot of these people's lists is going to be you duplicitous politicians who only care about fundraising for the next election and don't give a damn about making things better. It does seem sort of like it's a message starting off the year saying, okay, we are in 2024 and this is not going to be easy. And Apostle Tahar has deemed 2024 the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. And ever since January 1st, it seems like some major event is happening every day, and it's only going to intensify from here on out. Elections are not going to go smoothly, and you better be scared, said Lillian Mason, a political science professor at Johns Hopkins University who studies political violence. The wave comes after several years of sustained threats to and harassment of elections officials who have seen high turnover in their field as a result. It's now part of the job to face an onslaught of harassing messages when running an election in the U.S. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. While these recent threats haven't carried physical violence, they aren't innocent. They disrupt and intimidate the people involved, and they cause chaos, making it difficult for election officials to do their jobs. Women and people of color are more often the targets of these threats, Mason said. Hey, one people standing up and fighting against another, nations rising against nations. Everything is lining up with biblical prophecy, which could drive people out of the jobs, potentially changing the profile of who runs the elections. A threat against a building, such as a BOMB threat, takes hours to investigate and evacuate to ensure people are safe. Threats like doxing or posting personal information online or swatting someone's home take even longer to unwind, requiring more security, staying in another location, and scrubbing online information. It's not always clear either whether a threat is simply designed to sow chaos or will lead to violence. And the end point of all these different issues you see brewing up is going to turn into violence on the streets of America. These Egyptians fighting against each other. Today it could be warnings. Tomorrow there could be an actual BOMB that goes off, or there could be an ASSINATION attempt with a rifle, said Robert Pape, a University of Chicago professor who directs the Chicago Project on Security and Threats. Beyond the effects on those targeted, violence and intimidation are destabilizing and distract people from thinking more soberly about the country and its future, Mason said. They focus our energy on who is mad at who and dividing us against each other rather than focusing on the well-being of the nation as a whole, she said. And hey, we're not living in the times of coming together and love and embracing and peace. We're living in the times of hate, war, violence, and division. Just read Ecclesiastes chapter 3, a time and a season for everything. And as that sentence said, they focus our energy on who is mad at who and dividing us against each other. And these Americans are divided on damn near every level you could be divided on. And what does it say about division in the scriptures? This is Mark chapter 3, verses 24 to 25. And if you read it in the Bible, it's in red letters, so it's Yahushua speaking. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And just like after King Solomon's death, when the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom were divided against each other, the kingdom of Israel fell. It's going to be no different for you Edomites globally, especially in the United States of America, who again are divided from sex, race, politics, religion, classes, etc., etc. Verse 25, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand, and the house or the race of these Edomites is divided as well. You've got these Russian and American Edomites going at each other. You know, these American and European Edomites looking at each other sideways. The list goes on and on. We are living in the twilight hours of Esau Edom's rulership on the planet, especially from the United States of America, before this current age of the heathens ruling is taken down and that real new age is brought in, the age of the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yasharallah, where the children of Israel are going to be in rulership with the elect of the nation of Israel at the head of that. and at the head of the elect, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Sheena Bellows, the Democratic Secretary of State in Maine, had her home swatted with state troopers searching her house, summoned by a call about a fake break-in after her decision on the 14th Amendment question that would result in Trump being left off of the ballot in the state. Her personal cell phone number and home address were posted online. She knew that her decision would bring strong reactions, but not to this extent. The ensuing threatening communications, the doxing, the swatting of my home are unacceptable, she said. We should be able to agree to disagree on issues that are extraordinarily important and even controversial with respect and civility. We should be able to disagree without threats of violence. Pape, who has conducted surveys showing increasing support for political violence, back in that 2 Esdras 15 and 16, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power, every man doing what was right in his own eyes. In the U.S., said the recent wave of threats shows exactly what he was concerned about. They show that the country is a tinderbox where people increasingly support political violence to achieve their political goals as they lose faith in democracy, he said. And when a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. So that's it with this article. Now I'm going to close it out in 2 Esdras chapter 13, verse 31. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, with swords in their hands. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, sedition among men, and the cherry on top, and one realm against another. In the midst of, the Civil War and martial law in the United States of America, World War III, and just this chaos of Jacob's trouble engulfing the globe, Yahushua is going to make his second coming with a fleet of chariots, which people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs, to save his elect and, put the final nail in the coffin of you heathens, chiefly you Edomites. The heavenly realm of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai coming against the realm of man that war in heaven in Revelation chapter 12, verse 7. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.